Welcome to the Hedgehog Watchdog. I'm Devin Saxon, joined always by Greg Baldwin. Today's episode is brought to you by Pinkcoin. You can check them out at pinkcoin.com. Our guest today is Dan Fishman. He's the former executive director of the Libertarian Party. He's current executive director of People for Liberty. Yep. He just gave an awesome speech for NODA. I guess a background, if anybody hasn't been paying attention, they're voting. They made nomination speeches today for a replacement chair for Joe Bishop Henchman, and now they're currently voting on that. And Dan Fishman gave a speech for NODA. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your NODA speech?
Sure. So let me explain too that there's this tradition that a NODA speech is usually say, "Let me ask you this: if you're going to vote for a candidate who's going to raise your taxes, who are you going to vote for? Nobody. If you're going to vote for a candidate that's going to make marijuana illegal, who are you going to vote for? Nobody." That's why we always want to have none of the above on an election. Makes for a good choice. But in this case, I just feel like the animosity in the party is so high right now, so high strung. I just want to urge people to take a step back. Let's do the one thing, right? Because we're not going to be able to collectively vote for the same person to become chair. There's no unanimous choice out there. And honestly, right, I mean, you could have Harry Brown come back from the grave, and some libertarians would be like, "No, not Harry. He was blah, 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 blah," whatever it is. And so there's this is the one vote that we could all take together. We say, you know what? This one time right now, let's all vote none of the above. Take a step back for a month. It's not the end of the world if the Libertarian Party doesn't have a chair for a month. We've gone 3 months without a chair right now. Nothing has gotten worse, right? Mm-hmm. And so let's just take it back, not have a rush to judgment. That was essentially my point for it. This is, I can't think of anything else that we could do together in terms of realism. Like really, the party could come together and do a whole bunch of stuff together, but there's not the political will for that. NODA, right? This act of defiance against authority. Maybe that's the one thing that libertarians could come together on. It's probably not going to happen. I've been doing a little lobbying for NODA, and people are like, "No, hell no." But we'll see. We'll see. A couple of people said they're going to vote for NODA, so we'll see.
I like it. CJ Abernathy says, "I will give it to Dan. It was a great NODA speech. Well done, Dan."
Thanks, CJ.
Yeah, we listened to it like 20 minutes before the show started. So yeah, I actually enjoyed that speech as well, and I probably would do the NODA option if I was a voting member. But we'll see what happens. I think I don't know. It'll be good. This is the first time this has ever happened while I was been in the party, so it's interesting for me as an outside observer coming in as a newbie.
It has happened twice before in the party.
Okay.
Twice the chairs had to be replaced, and to get into a little bit of since I'm not on the LNC, I can talk about all the inside dirt. There was this big controversy over what was supposed to happen. Now, I'm one of the people who the bylaws say three things. Number one, it says these are the officers: the chair, the vice chair, the treasurer, and the secretary. The second thing it says is that if there is a vacancy in any of the officers' positions, the LNC will select the replacement. And then there's a third part that says Roberts is our fallback document. And if there's an inconsistency between Roberts and our bylaws always win. Now, there's a section in Roberts that says, unless you specifically say how to replace the chair, then the vice chair is supposed to become chair. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, I think that if we said the chair is an officer and this is how we replace officers, that is specific. Because specific doesn't mean unique. It means that you list out, you define what the thing is that you're looking for. Like if I tell you to get something blue, that's specific, but you could bring back a lot of different things that were blue. So I think that the bylaws already said that this is how it's supposed to happen. So that's part of the controversy too, is we've had all this conflict about what do the bylaws say and what does Roberts say and stuff like that. And so I just thought this was a great chance for everybody to say, you know what? We're libertarians. The one thing we agree upon is fuck the rules.
I like it. Yeah, we didn't have a judicial committee for 2 years, so I think we could do good with our vice chair acting as chair for 2 years. I don't see I know he doesn't want to, but
he doesn't want to. I was only proposing put it off for a month because we can have another election in a month. What's the rush? right? 30 more days. But we'll see. See what happens.
So this is a question we asked. Oh, go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
You were proposing a couple months ago. It kind of made a ruckus on social media that you were proposing that we elect chair too often, and you had written kind of a good speech about that. We've kind of
letter for 4 years. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I did. So I'll tell you why I did that, because I do believe that there's an important thing about consistency in the chair's office. And one of the main reasons why is because the chair gets to appoint the executive director. And so just like in government, where, civil servants are sort of the continuity of government, the executive director is the continuity of the party. Chairs come and go. Nick Sarwark was the first person to ever get elected to 3 consecutive chairs. Normally the party says we're done with you after 2 terms. But during the last 10 years, there have been 10 executive directors, which you consider the fact that chairs have a year of 2 terms. It was because of all the changes that happened that we had all these changes. And so that's one of the things that I want to see happen, is to elect a chair for 4 years so that you get a little more continuity. Every 2 years is like, we're essentially changing directions. Nobody has enough time to really get any steam going. I don't really care who the chair is. I mean, it looks right now like, it looks like the Mises Caucus candidate is going to win. I want them to be in power for 4 years. I want them to have a long enough time to really do something, as opposed to, if it's a 2-year term, after 1 year, you're campaigning again. And you're so worried about what people are thinking about what you're doing that sometimes that takes it away from the election process. And then the other thing about it is that we have a chair's race the same year that we have a presidential race. That's crazy, because, the politics get in the way of each other. And honestly, if we could have a chair who was going to run, and so we do this with the Judicial Committee. So the Judicial Committee is elected for a 4-year term, and we elect them in off-year convention, so 22, 26, etc. So let's just elect the chair at the same time we elect the JC, let them run for 4 years. And some people have made the argument, well, what if you get a bad chair? We have a mechanism for dealing with a bad chair. Okay, we can remove somebody from office. We came close to doing it with the vice chair. With a chair, it would be even easier, I think, because people would think that what the chair did was more egregious if they did something wrong. So I just want to let the chair have the opportunity to have more continuity and get more stuff done. We seem to spin our wheels a lot at the administrative side of things. And I think giving somebody more time to get used to the office, because really that's all you're doing in the first year anyway, is getting used to the office. And then if you want a second term, you get used to the office, then you have to run for office again. And so you really haven't done anything in your first term at all. And so then your second term, you get a year, maybe 2 years if you're lucky to do stuff. But I just wanted, I think that it makes sense. I'm still going to put it forward as a bylaws change, but I don't know that people have stomach for it right now. We'll see. I'll do everything I can to lobby people for it, but I think that 4 years makes more sense for a chair. That's what the RNC and the DNC do as well.
Yeah, I've only been to 2 national conventions, but just in my 2 that I went to, it seemed like we waste too much time and effort on these party elections.
Yeah.
That, they're just endless speeches and, I don't know. It's just a lot.
Well, you raise an outstanding point, because, Josh talked about the fact that, he ran for chair in 2018 and in 2020. So now it's 2021. So that means in the space of 3 years, people have voted 3 times for or against him for chair. That's crazy, right? 1 4-year term, I think, is probably a better option. And I think, most of the people that I've talked to about it agree. There are people who are afraid of what happens at the chair. We got a bad chair. We're libertarians, right? The chair is not all powerful. The LNC can stop the chair from doing something if they want to. But let's have somebody have some consistency in terms of, this is my long range plan. One of the things that we really, that I talked about all the time, you can read this in my executive director reports when I was executive director of the Libertarian Party. I really think it's important to increase membership. And so we came up with this big plan on how we were going to do it. One of the big things was retention. So a put together this thing over the last 8 years. The number of people who stay with the party from 1 year to 2 year is only 42%. 42 only 42% of members stay more than 1 year, and that's a terrible number for us to have. And so I said, let's put into plan a retention plan. So when somebody comes in for their first year, let's have a member welcome hangout. When they come in, let's talk to them, see how they're doing. Let's poll them 6 months in. How's your experience going? You've been able to get in touch with your state party. All these things to make people feel more involved in their first year. Because if they stay with the party more than 1 year, their chance of renewing at the end of their second year is 75%. And their chance of renewing if they stay more than 2 years is 80%. So we do a great job. I mean, you probably figure I put up with this shit for 1 year. I can put up for a long time. But so I put a lot of focus into doing that. And then when the chair changed, the new chair didn't have membership as a priority. And so that program essentially went away.
So we asked this question to everybody when they come on the show. What was the final straw that brought you into the Liberty movement?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, I'd been in the Liberty movement for a long time. So full disclosure, a head of hair like this means I'm old. And I was a Reagan Republican. 1980, I mean, I was only 13 years old in 1980, but I was really psyched about Reagan. It's morning in America, all that stuff. And then around 82, Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson convinced me there wasn't a place in the Republican Party for people like me. I was not a member of the moral majority. And so I left. I was politically homeless for a while, but I had the good fortune to grow up in Galveston, Texas. So Ron Paul was actually my congressperson. So I became more libertarian, hearing him talk, stuff like that. And, I became involved in the party, but I didn't really become active until 2008. And then in 2011, Barack Obama signed the National Defense Authorization Act, which said that if they suspected you of terrorism, the police can pick you up, hold you without the right to an attorney, hold you without the right to a speedy trial. Essentially, violations of Fifth Amendment. And my family's personal history, my grandmother came over from the Ukraine at the turn of the last century. And the reason why they came over is that she was one of 9 daughters. She and her sisters came home from market with her mother, and their father was gone. And they asked the neighbors, what happened? Did you guys see anything? They're like, oh, the police came. And they went down to the police station. The police were like, we don't know where he is. And they just never saw him again. And so they thought it's not safe for us to stay here. And so they fled and they came to the United States. So the idea of habeas corpus, right, that you can't be held without right to an attorney, the police can't disappear you, that's a big deal to me. And so when Obama took that away, a fundamental right in the Constitution, I'm like, I can do something about this. So I ran for Congress, which it's a mistake. Shouldn't run for Congress as your first office. I made another big mistake along the way in that I financed my own campaign. So I was a pretty successful software engineer, so I was able to put a lot of money into my campaign. But I didn't realize that if you don't ask people to invest in your campaign, they won't be invested in your campaign. So you should ask for money, even if you don't need it. And of course, it's the worst thing in the world to do, right? Nobody likes to ask for money. But if you don't ask for money, you're telling people, I don't think my campaign is so serious that I'm willing to do that. So it's really important that the candidates who are running get out there and fundraise. So that being said, I did do a few things right in the campaign. The biggest one was that I accepted every invitation to go everywhere that I could, and I tried to find places to go. And so I met some Republicans, I met some Democrats, so they knew there was a libertarian who was running. And then the first debate that was scheduled was at a senior citizen center, and they were debating Medicaid and Medicare. And the Republicans, like, I'm not even going. Why would I go to that debate? So the Democrat invited me. And so I am shitting bricks. I'm like, so here I am, right? 8-term congressman. And I'm going to go debate Medicaid and Medicare with him. But I had 2 weeks. So I studied, went and talked to my parents who were both senior citizens about it. We get into the debate and it's crazy. Like, I don't know what it's like in other places, but in Massachusetts, when they have a debate, all the supporters stand outside with signs and stuff like that. And so you have to walk past them. And fortunately, nobody knew who I was. But, we get in there and Tierney comes in. John Tierney was the congressman from Massachusetts at the time, 8 terms, tall, great head of hair, looked like a politician. People are cheering when he comes in. He comes up, hey, Dan, how's it going? He's, like 8 inches taller than me, too. Great. So we start the debate. 10 minutes in, it becomes clear I am the subject matter expert in the room on Medicaid and Medicare. This guy has no idea. We start talking about Medicare Part D and the drug benefits. And I'm like, well, here's the problem is that it wasn't funded, blah, blah, blah. It's like, is Medicare Part D just drugs? I'm like, yes, Congressman, it is just the drugs. So 2 weeks later, to sort of get back at having a debate with just the Democrat and me, Fox News in Boston had a debate with me and the Republican, and John Tierney's like, I'm not going to a Fox News debate. So they did it on stage with 3 chairs. And in one chair, it said John Tierney and had an empty microphone in it. And so they would ask the questions, and they would cut to the 3 of us beforehand. Now, the thing was, John Tierney and Richard Desai, so the Republicans thought they were going to win this race in Massachusetts. I should explain a little bit, too. Massachusetts, you've heard that it's a blue state. You don't know how blue it is. So Richard Desai, the Republican who was favored in the race, was an out-married gay man who's pro-choice. That was the Republican. John Tierney.
We have that same in South Dakota where our Democrats are basically Republicans too, because they have to be.
Exactly.
It's like the opposite of Massachusetts, it seems.
It's exactly like that. And so John Tierney, the Democrat, was his wife had gone to jail for 30 days for money laundering because her brothers were running an illegal offshore casino and she laundered money for him. Now, personally, I don't see how an offshore casino can be illegal in the first place. I'm all in favor of that. But it was a weird thing. So the Republicans saw this as a chance to win because Republicans haven't won a general election race in Massachusetts since 1994. And so they poured a lot of money in. The Democrats wanted to defend John Tierney because they thought he was vulnerable. They poured a lot of money. It ended up being the most expensive House race in Congress at that time. These guys both had beautiful websites attacking the other guy. So John Tierney put up a website called To Say Tales, and To Say put up a site, Pinocchio Tierney, about all the lies that they were telling and stuff like that, and just attacking each other left and right. Now, the thing is, I'm a software guy, and so I was feeling a little bit left out. So I actually put up a website attacking myself, fishmanfollies.com. It's not there anymore. But then the beauty of it is that during the debate with Richard Desai, with just me and the Republican and the Democrat there, one of the questions they came to say, no, Mr. Fishman, how do you feel about the fact that, there's so much money in this campaign and you're sort of caught in the middle, that these guys both have websites attacking each other? And I said, well, that's the problem with being a third party candidate. I had to put up my own website attacking myself. And I'd like to say, if you go there, and I'd put up a Photoshop picture of, Massachusetts, Boston Red Sox. I put up a photo picture of me photoshopped with Derek Jeter with his arm around me and say, that picture is completely fake. I'm not a Yankees fan, anything like that. So people love that. So my campaign blew up then. I got invited to all the rest of the debates, which is fantastic. And by all accounts, you look at all the press, the article said, Fishman won the debate. He's clearly the smartest guy in the room. Now here, let's talk about who's going to win. So that was certainly eye-opening, but it was an awesome experience. Yeah. And that was the thing that made me think, you know what? We really can make a difference. We can move the window. And in fact, in 2014, the Republican came back to me. He's like, Dan, I want to win. He's like, I want you to write some policy papers for me that are going to get libertarians to vote for me. I'm like, all right, you got to come out in favor of legalizing cannabis. You got to come out in favor of criminal justice reform. And, if you take those things, and I had a third one that had to do with, at the time, Massachusetts was looking at the stupid internet tax. And I'm like, that's a stupid tax. You got to come out and say that. And so he did. He adopted those 3 positions. And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to endorse you now because I don't want to run again. I was ready to go back to real life and making money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that 2012 campaign was the thing that got me really involved. And I thought I'm going to help the Libertarian Party more. I became the political director in Massachusetts. The next cycle, 2014, we ran 19 candidates for State House, which was the most Libertarians had ever run. And then after that, the rest of it was, pretty straightforward. I became, after my 2012 campaign, I got a note from, and I know it's a controversial name, but I got a note from Bill Weld who said, Dan, I thought that you were the best candidate in the race. I would have voted for you. That was great. We sent each other a few emails over the years. And then in 2016, when he got the nod to be vice president, he said, I want you to be the Northeast field director. And I said, that's dumb. Okay. I'm a software guy. Okay. I ran one election, but what do I know about press releases or, setting up interviews or parties, staged events, any of that stuff? Go find somebody else. And so they went away and they came back to me the second time and said, no, Dan, we really want you. I'm like, anybody, find anybody else, because there's got to be somebody else out there who can do it. And the third time they said, okay, Dan, we did find, they listed this person who I knew was a moron. And I'm like, you're threatening me. If I don't take the job, you're going to give it to a moron. So they did give me, so I did take the job. And that was great. It was great to see the big campaign. And, there's a lot of complaints about Johnson and Weld and all that stuff. But I got to see a couple remarkable things happen. One was I got to see a real fundraiser in action. So 41 days in a row, Bill Weld spent 4 hours on the phone and raised at least $100,000 every day. That was remarkable. Obviously, that's still the record for the thing. But the other thing about it was what they did with that money. So they bought 5,000 hours at the Leadership Institute and said, any libertarian, any member of the Libertarian Party who wants to take a class, we will cover that class. So hundreds of libertarian activists got to take classes for free at the Leadership Institute. A lot of the people you see leading campaigns now took the Leadership Institute fundraising class, the Leadership Institute campaign manager class, stuff like that. Things that, they used their money in a good way. So that was very exciting. And then I was done after 2016. It was an exhausting campaign. I didn't really want to be involved. I like the liberty movement and stuff like that. But again, I was sort of, it wears on you, especially, the party conflict and stuff like that. Whatever people thought about the Johnson-Weld campaign, I had to put up with a lot of crap that I thought was just completely unnecessary. Just how can you do that? You're betraying the party, whatever. So I wasn't going to do I wasn't planning on running for anything anymore, but Massachusetts needed somebody to run statewide to get ballot access.
Ballot access, yeah.
Exactly. And so I said, all right, I will do that. So, but because we'd run a bunch of campaigns, because I'd seen the big campaign, I knew one of the important things was declare in 2017 for a 2018 campaign, because then your big donors can give you money in 2017 and money in 2018. And then after the primary, they can give you money a third time. So we wanted to get all that stuff in. So we did that. We had a huge organization. A lot of people, a lot of your listeners probably know Jeff Lyons. He's now Director of Development for Young Americans for Liberty. He was my campaign manager at the time. He built an amazing team. So we had a youth director, social media coordinator, volunteer coordinator. And then Chris Crawford ran my signature drive. I was actually the first candidate, Republican, Democrat, anybody, to qualify to get on the ballot, because we were so well organized. As soon as the papers came out, we had the teams that we had to hire hired. We had people out on the streets. I have to give a shout out to my mom, who got 300 signatures. 296 of them were valid. Unbelievable number.
Nice.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Now I asked her about it afterwards, and she's like, well, I used to carry around a voter registration change thing so that people could, if they say, oh, I can't vote for your son, they're like, well, why don't you change to, because I'm a Republican or Democrat. In Massachusetts, only independents and libertarians can sign for a libertarian candidate. She's like, well, why don't you register as independent, and then you can sign for my son and stuff like that. So she would do all that stuff. And then people say, why would you sign for him? Because he's my son. And so she did a great job. So that race, in August of 2018, the company that I've been working for was bought for a second time. It had been bought actually December the year before that, and was bought again in August. Each time triggered an equity event for me. And the company that bought us in August, that bought EastBed, which is the company I worked for, was a pre-IPO company. And they came to me and they said, Dan, we want to take the company public. You're super old and we're paying you a lot of money. So we'd like you to take the severance check and go away. I'm like, awesome. I can run for office full time. I'm a software engineer. I'm not worried about finding another job. So from August till the end of the year, August till November, I was able to run full time. So every day I went out and I did a campaign event. Sometimes I do 2 or 3, drive around. And the nice thing is, you're running statewide. You can go to a small town and get on the radio show every single day. If you've got the ability to do it, trust me, Tuesday at 2:00, radio shows are desperate for somebody to come on. They can get an actual statewide candidate. So I did everything that I could, all that stuff. We had are you guys football fans by any chance?
Dolphins.
Greg is.
Dolphins.
All right. Well, so yeah, as a Dolphins fan, you're especially going to appreciate this. So we had a television ad that was voted the best ad in Massachusetts that year. Now, and let me explain, Massachusetts, we think differently about Tom Brady than everybody else does.
Yeah, Patriots, yeah.
So here's the thing that it starts off, the camera's got a tight zoom on a guy's shirt and it says, #1 Colts fan. And then it zooms out, guy puts on a referee's jersey, walks into Foxborough and he picks up a football and says, "Stop the game. These balls are underinflated." I walk out there and I say, that's not right. Republicans and Democrats have been playing political football with the taxpayer money, and the auditor is supposed to be the referee. And the referee shouldn't be wearing a jersey of one of the two teams. My name is Dan Fishman. I'm a libertarian, and I'm going to be fair when I audit everybody in government, blah, 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 blah. So
that's actually pretty good. That's really good.
It was great. I mean, we had a lot of momentum in the campaign. I was endorsed by every major paper in Massachusetts. So Boston Globe had never endorsed a libertarian beforehand. Worcester Gazette Telegram had never endorsed a libertarian beforehand. Got a lot of momentum going on. But as I mentioned, we're really a one-party state. And a week before the election, I was speaking to League of Women Voters in Wellesley, Massachusetts. So that's Democrat squared. I give them my, why would you elect a Republican or a Democrat to audit Republicans and Democrats and talk about all the scandals. And like, I can see I'm moving the crowd. I've done this enough. I'm getting to them. Nodding along. At the end, a woman stands up. She's like, Dan, I think you'd be an amazing auditor. I like everything that you had to say. But the party has told me that if I don't vote blue all the way down the ticket, that shows weakness in the Democratic Party. And that allows Donald Trump to build the wall. And I cannot have that. And people start clapping. And I'm like, oh, man, the country is fucked. So a week after that, Nick Sarwark posts that they need an executive director at the Libertarian Party. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I'm not a guy who's been really involved in internal libertarian politics, but I've been fortunate enough to be very successful in business. I know how to get projects done. I know how to organize things. And I think the party really needs that right now because we're in a situation where we seem to be spinning our wheels a lot. So I applied for the job. There was a competitive interview process. I got the job. And so then I became really involved because now it was my job. Mm-hmm. One of the things that was interesting about it was that the job requires the executive director live in the Washington, D.C. area. So I had to leave Massachusetts where I'd lived for 25 years. And that was a tough thing to do. And I'm married. This is my tip for all the married couples out there. Don't move and leave your partner behind to pack up the house. That's just not a good thing to do. That will not get you any points whatsoever. So we did that, but it was, I was happy to get here. I was happy to be involved. I'm happy to, sort of be in the belly of the beast. Because the interesting thing is, there is a lot of liberty movement people in Washington, D.C. who aren't in the Libertarian Party. And being able to get in touch with those people, and, that's sort of what I do now. That's what People for Liberty is, I like to say a lot of times there's a lot of people who are liberty curious. They want to put their toe in the liberty water, see what it feels like. And the problem is if that liberty water is filled with libertarians, they're like sharks and they come out and they bite at your ankles and stuff like that, no matter what you say. So when I left and I was no longer executive director, now I'm at People for Liberty, one of the things we did is say, how do we have a more welcoming experience for people who are putting their toe into the liberty water? And, we just had this success thing that I'm really happy about. On Easter, Joe Jorgensen, who's now president of People for Liberty, Joe tweeted and posted on Facebook, "Happy Easter to everybody who celebrates it. Easter is a day of peace, and we should recognize a day of peace." Now, because libertarians, 50% of the people are bullshit. How dare you mention Easter? Blah, 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 blah. Why did Easter I can throw it at you right now? Stuff like that. But, on Facebook, there's that heart icon as well. And so everybody who clicked on the heart icon, we said, we've got this Facebook group, Christians for Liberty. We think you would be interested in some of the conversations that are going on there. And a month ago, somebody started a thread on Christians for Liberty that says, hey, as Christians, we are commanded to help the poor. One of the biggest problems we have with government is that government has all these laws that prevent you from helping the poor. How about we all get together and fight against these laws that are stopping us from helping the poor? And so now you have people who don't self-identify as libertarians doing very libertarian things, trying to get laws repealed. That's awesome. That's what I want to see happen. And I think that those people, as they do more of that stuff, they're going to become libertarians, even though they don't self-identify as them yet. So
that's actually a really good plan. I like that concept. We should start doing that with our state page. Everybody who hearts our posts, we should try to reach out, extend an extra hand to them and be like, hey.
Well, it's a great idea, because that's one of the great things that Facebook gives us in those tools, is that you can see who chose what thing about it. And so everybody who hearts, right, they didn't casually select that heart. They want to do something. We just have to engage them.
We just block all the angry reacts.
I mean, that is a really important thing, though. One of the things that we did, so, we've got People for Liberty now has 50 odd groups. Many of them have several thousand members. 2A for Liberty, Military Supporters for Liberty, Black Voters for Liberty, Christians for Liberty, LGBT plus for Liberty, a million different things, Women Voters for Liberty. One of the things we learned very on is that those groups do have to be moderated, because it's not. And so I truly believe that there are active forces working to disrupt libertarians. And the best example I can make of that is that, we hear right now that I have heard right now that there is a real belief that Joe Jorgensen cost President Trump the election, because she was more than the margin of victory in 5 states that would have changed the Electoral College vote. For sure, they think libertarians cost them the Senate, because Shane Hazel got 2.5% and forced a runoff, which the Republicans lost. So there is, I believe, a concerted effort on the part of the Republican Party to make sure that libertarians don't have ballot access in certain places, because they don't want to see us there. Now, a major political party, the amount of money they have is stunning, just stunning. And so it's very easy for them to pay. In fact, there was a great article about this in, if I can quote the last president, in the failed New York Times. That's my Trump imitation. But there's an interesting article in the New York Times about how the Republicans paid for this couple to infiltrate the highest levels of the Democratic Party. So these people made $100,000 worth of donations. They got invited to a lot of things, stuff like that. It's all political money. More than that, it's completely illegal. There's no law against doing anything like that. So what's the chance? Do you think that that the Republicans looking at that, they would be willing to say, you know what? We'll spend $20,000. $20,000 is what the chair of the Republican Party blows his nose with. They would happily spend $20,000 to cause destruction in our party, to cause us to fight against each other. And I mean, it probably doesn't take $20,000 to make that happen. But I really do believe that there are forces for chaos inside the party, and we have to find a way to fight against those things. And one of the easiest things to do is to recognize that people outside of the formal party structure can still help the party a lot. And so, that's People for Liberty. That's what we want to do, is we want to create People for Liberty, with the idea that, as they become better people for liberty, they're going to realize they can't vote Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, we know a few people in real life that just refuse to register or identify as libertarian, but their core values are are libertarian for sure, and so your organizations like People for Liberty, that's a good thing because it can bring in people and it's not partisan. They don't have to feel like they're picking a side, I guess.
Yeah, and we want to be welcoming. You know what? If you don't agree with open borders, I'm okay with that. If you tell me that you believe in, reforming, if you believe in, that Second Amendment shall not be infringed, is pretty clear cut, but you don't believe in open borders, that's fine. Let's work together on the Second Amendment issues. I'm not going to tell you that we can't work together because we don't agree on open borders. Or let's say that, you agree on open borders, but you don't agree with me on legalizing drugs, ending the war on drugs. That's fine. We don't have to agree on everything. And that's the difference between a movement outside of the party and a party which has a platform, which has a million different things. I mean, I love the Libertarian Party platform. It is like my fifth favorite document in the world. I love the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. Gettysburg Address is amazing. And then if you've never read the Travis letter that Travis wrote when he was in the Alamo, that thing's unbelievable. But the Libertarian platform is amazing. The problem with it is that people believe that if you don't agree with everything in the platform, then you're not a libertarian. Like that, right? I mean, there's no other party that's like that. And it's funny because, so this is one of the things from one of my stump speeches. Republicans and Democrats will say, oh, I'm a big tent Republican. I'm a big tent Democrat. But if you think people ought to be able to look up and see the stars, you're a libertarian. And that's what it's all about. It's all about that freedom.
So you were a pretty integral part in pulling off. We had an interesting situation in 2020 with the Orlando convention. It was half online, half in person. That was a big task for an executive director, and you were the executive director.
I was.
See, I don't even have a question for that. I'm just admiring your job.
I got an answer anyway. It was a very interesting thing because March 6th, and I know the date because I documented it very clearly. March 6th, COVID's happening, we're seeing things shut down. We're supposed to have our convention in Austin in May. And I'm like, you know what? I'm the executive director. We need to have a proposal for what will happen if we can't do the convention. So I came up, and like I said, I've been a software guy for forever. So I came up with a plan. There's actually a company called Votes, VATZ. They've run 180 elections across the United States. Mostly they focus at countywide elections, but like real countywide elections where everybody votes on their cell phone. And for people who don't have cell phones, they can come in and there's a terminal, but mostly you vote on your cell phone. And so I talked to them and I got a contract from them, and it was $9,000. For $9,000, they would do everything for our election. So all the voting, everything like that, all we had to do was use Zoom for the meeting, but all the voting, very quick, vote on your phone, all that stuff. And I presented to the LNC, and the LNC said, no, we're not going to do it. And the convention committee was very unhappy about it because they felt like I was trying to undermine the physical convention. I wasn't trying to undermine the physical convention. I just wanted to have a backup plan. And I thought $9,000 was a really cheap option to have something just in case. But, there is that sort of burn the boats philosophy. If you have a backup plan, then it's too easy to use it. I understand that. But so what happened was May 27th was the day that we were supposed to have the convention, the virtual convention. And by then it was clear we were not going to be able to assemble in Austin. And so 10 days beforehand, Nick Sarwark says, okay, this is my ruling. We're going to have a virtual convention to elect the presidential candidate. And that passed. He's like, okay, Dan, make it happen. I'm like, motherfucker. I planned 10 weeks ago. Now I've got 10 days to get it done. But I put together a what we call a skunkworks team in tech. Me, Ryan Graham, Tyler Harris, who's the current executive director, TJ Ferreira. I'm going to forget other people, but we all worked together and we came up with a way that we could do it with Zoom registration. People might remember we went through a bunch of practice rounds where we weren't sure if we were going to use a webinar or if we were going to use an actual room. We ended up using a webinar, which I think, that's the right way to do that, although there were some flaws with it. To make a long story short, we got there, we did the first convention. So then, and that Joe Jorgensen won the nomination in May. And then we voted to adjourn to Florida in July. The week before the convention was supposed to happen, the Rosen Creek wrote to us and said, we can't open the Rosen Creek, but we will host your convention in this other hotel that was definitely not as good. And we were like, well, that's crazy. We're not, we paid all this money, all this stuff. And so we got into the negotiations, and at the end, they were not going to give us all the stuff that we'd wanted, that we paid for. And everybody's like, we got to walk. We got to cancel the in-person convention, because what they're offering us is not going to be sufficient to what we need. Like, one of the things we need is a giant room. And they didn't have a room that was big enough to hold everybody in. But so the day before the cancellation, Nick Sarwark again said to me, he's like, Dan, we have to have this in-person convention. You need to get into these negotiations and make it happen. So it was me, Betty Rose Ryan, and Robert Krause is the operations director. And to make a long story short, we said, this is it. We sent Rosen a letter saying they were in breach of contract. And we said, these are all the things that you absolutely have to provide us. And, they tried to hem and haw about it. And we said, no, it's got to be all this stuff. And so we actually referred to the package as the moon. I'm like, you have to give us the moon in order for us to go there. And finally, at the end, Mr. Rosen said, all right, here's the moon. We'll give you everything on there, which included, like, for the delegates got fresh flowers in their room, and cookies, stuff like that. So we negotiated this great deal, which was awesome.
Damn, we should have stayed there.
Right.
We got an Airbnb off site, so we missed
I'm
out.
sorry. So you didn't get all the good stuff. You didn't get the fresh cookies, but so then the thing was that there was this app that TJ was writing called the Porcupine app, and everybody was supposed to be able to vote on the Porcupine app, and it was going to handle our speaker connection, all those things. And I did not want to get involved with the Porcupine app, even though I'm a software guy, because I knew that people were feeling hostile towards me because I'd made that proposal back in March to have a backup plan. And so people were angry at me some people were. So I'm like, you know what, TJ, you're a software guy. You can do this. You don't need my help. And so he assembled a team. And then a week before it was supposed to go live, I'm like, can I help you with the training? Because I want to start setting up training sessions so everybody will know how to use the Porcupine app. Mm-hmm. And as we got into the training, we did a bunch of live training for it. I started to be a little worried that it wasn't going to be ready in time, because there were still some things that he was working on a week before the convention. And so I thought, you know what, just in case, and this time I'm not going to ask the LNC, I'm just going to have a backup plan. And so I had the backup plan with Zoom and everything else. And I talked to the credentialing people about how we do it just in case. And then sure enough, 2 votes in, it was clear the Porcupine app wasn't working. And so we had to roll over and use Zoom and all the stuff that we did. But we did it. We elected a chair. That first day was pretty hectic. But after that, that was pretty amazing. I love the time-lapse photography of Alex Merced looking worse and worse every hour.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Awesome. But, we did it. And it's funny because I posted something on Facebook today. I said, the greatest feeling you can ever have, the greatest gift that we could ever be given is a call that you can answer. And as I was doing this stuff, and like I have a database program open, and I'm like calculating who are the active delegates in Texas right now, because Whitney's actually, Texas isn't a good example. Tennessee, though, sent me a list of which delegates have left and which alternates are going to be voting right now. And I have to run all that through the computer as they give them to me, stuff like that. And I built all these systems to make it work. And I thought, I am the right person in the right place for this job right now. And that's such a rewarding feeling. So I was very happy to have been there to do that.
So we got about 15 minutes left before Valerie's supposed to be coming on. Long. No, that's all right. I just wanted to circle back to next week, 10 days from now, is Freedom Fest in
Woo!
Rapid City.
I'll be there.
And we are pretty excited about that. I've been following it for a few years, but I don't really get to Vegas or out west often, so I've never had the chance to go. But you will be there. What are you doing at Freedom Fest this year?
Well, so I'm going to be there representing People for Liberty, which is exciting. We're a silver sponsor, talking about what we're trying to do and trying to get people who have felt that they didn't belong in the Libertarian Party, but were part of the Liberty movement, maybe not to come home, but at least to get on the same train as us so that we're all traveling in the same direction, because that's an important thing for us to do. And, you know, it's critical that we find the allies that we have, because there's a lot of people out there, both Republicans and Democrats, who are incredibly unhappy with their party right now, and with good reason, right? I mean, there's an interesting thing about it, right? Okay, the squad, AOC, you know, we disagree on a lot of things, but Justin Amash just had her, he was teaching a class called Libertarianism at the University of Chicago. And he had her come in and be a guest lecturer for one day. And she talked about all the things that progressive Democrats and libertarians agree on. And one of them is legalizing all the drugs, ending the drug war, political criminal justice reform, stop militarization of the police. There's a lot of stuff, ending civil asset forfeiture, right? Progressive Democrats hate civil asset forfeiture. Why aren't we working with them on that? Because that's one of the worst things that's out there. You know, you cut off the money, you change the way that policing is done in this country. There's a lot of policing that's done specifically so that police officers can fund their jobs. If we get rid of the money, we make it so that, excuse me, it's not profitable to stop somebody and search them anymore. We change a lot of things. So that's mostly what I'm doing, is trying to find allies, people who should be in the liberty, closer to the liberty movement, and then start talking to them. We do a couple of interesting things right now at People for Liberty. One of them, if you go to People for Liberty with the number 4, peopleforliberty.org/legislation, we are building a online database of all the liberty affecting legislation in the country, municipal, state level, and obviously federal. Mm-hmm. But what we want to do is we want you to be able to go there and look up and say, well, what's happening in my state? Or maybe not even look up. We have a newsletter. If you sign up for my newsletter, and I know that you live in Memphis, I sent you a thing about the fact that there's an eminent domain case going on right now in Memphis where they want to build a pipeline through the middle of the city. Now, the interesting thing about it is that the group that started off opposing this is Black Lives Matter. But very quickly, the Libertarian County Party is like, eminent domain, we are with you guys. And so now they march together. And where that's expanded now is that now there's a libertarian who, I'm not going to say his name, but he is giving shooting range classes, inviting members of the Black Lives Matter group to come in and say, hey, let me show you guys, you know, what you really should be doing. If you really think Black Lives Matter, you should be protecting them with a handgun, with some sort of gun in your life. And that's great. That's the kind of outreach that really makes a difference. So peopleforliberty.org/legislation, and it's, you know, open source. So if you know of a liberty affecting law, and, you know, sometimes there are laws that increase liberty, sometimes there are laws that restrict liberty, whatever they are, us getting to the State House and talking about them to legislators makes a huge difference. Speaking up in State House, letters to the editor, that sort of thing. We want liberty movement people to start affecting liberty legislation. And then the other thing is, if you go to our calendar, peopleforliberty.org/calendar, look at the events. We have the best calendar of liberty events in the country. And it's sad that nobody else had actually built that before. I sort of came up with this idea a couple months ago, to go back to my crazy past. You guys won't remember, but there used to be a handheld device called the Palm Pilot. So I worked for Palm back in the day. It was awesome. And I got really into the importance of the calendar in people's lives. And so now having this calendar of all the liberty events, and there's a place where, you know, if you know of a liberty event, we want you to put it into our calendar so that people can say, oh, you know what? There's a Second Amendment rally near me. There's a cannabis rally near me. There's a whatever you want rally near me. It's a liberty rally. And so I'm going to go to that. I mean, we have some other things in there that aren't, you know, pure liberty. There's a virtual tour of the Statue of Liberty on August 7th. But a bunch of stuff like that. So we want to start being that. I guess somebody described it as being the visitor center for the Liberty Movement. You say, yeah, you're interested in the Liberty Movement. I say, hey, come on in. Tell me what you like. You would probably like this part of the tour, or you'd like this part of the tour. And we direct people to the place they go. Say, hey, you know what? Maybe you would be interested in what Reason publishes. Or we hear somebody else say, oh, you were going to hate Reason. Let me tell you more about Vegetarians or whatever it is. We give people a place and sort of a direction and a map. Say, here's the Liberty Movement. Here's what it's going to make it the most meaningful to you. So that's what we're going Freedom Fest to talk about. I'm going to be on one panel talking about the NAP. Joe Jorgensen's doing a panel. Our founder, Lauren Postler, is doing an amazing panel. And it's funny because we always want to have somebody covering the table. But I think I'm going to make a volunteer cover the table. So I go hear Lauren's talk. She teaches entrepreneurism at Rice University, which one of the really great schools in the South. But also she teaches at the University of Texas. And she knows so much about starting a business, about how to take your idea from here to getting paid. And it's something that people in the Liberty Movement should be doing a lot of, because we have that idea of individualism and using your liberty to benefit yourself. So I'm going to try to get to her talk as well. But anybody who's coming to Freedom Fest, please come see my talk. That's not as important. Go see Lauren's talk, because that's probably going to change your life.
What day and time is your talk?
My talk is Friday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. There's a list of speakers. If you go to freedomfest.com, all the speakers are listed in there, and you can click on me and you'll see when my time is. And I confess, I don't know when Lauren's talk is, but it's in my phone. They did a really great thing at Freedom Fest this year where you can click on everything that you want to go to, and it will just all sync as appointments into your phone. And I'm one of those people that, like, if my phone tells me to go somewhere, I will go there.
Is that Freedom Fest app, or?
It's called Sked, SCHED. And like if you go there and you start looking at the speakers and stuff, you'll see where you can click and it'll say sign up for Sked to sync this into your phone. And I guess that is the Freedom Fest app, but it's powered by Sked. Right. And I had Sked because I go to other conventions and other people have been doing this for a while. It's a really good way to keep track of your time when you're in a meeting. The other thing about it is that you can see the speakers and you can send messages to speakers. So if somebody says something at an event you go to, you're like, hey, let me send a quick message to Grover Norquist or whoever else.
Is this your first Freedom Fest, or how many have you done?
No, I went 2 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago was awesome because it was in Vegas, which is where it normally is. And I had these amazing cards made. Let me see if I can show you this. Oh, so it's going to be hard to see because it's a green screen card, but it's a blackjack basic strategy card. And so because it's in the casino, so we handed these out to people and we're like, listen, I guarantee you, if you go play basic strategy, you're going to be able to play for a long time. And there's a chance you might win some money. If you win some money, please come back and give the Libertarian Party half of it. And so we had a lot of people who came back and they're like, hey, and of course nobody comes back and like, oh yeah, I lost $100. You owe me $50. So it was a good thing. Plus on the back of it, we put in this basic idea of, oh, you can't read it. It says from the platform, we favor the repeal of all laws creating crimes without victims, such as gambling. Welcome to the casino. So that was great. I'm excited to go back to Vegas, but I'm excited for South Dakota too. And, you know, one of the things about it, I know your next guest is Valerie Durham. That woman is a genius. You're going to hear from her as well. But like all the things that she's done to organize it, to make this happen in South Dakota, it's phenomenal. And I'm very excited to be there because she's putting on a great show.
Have you ever been to South Dakota before?
I've never been. It's on my list of states that I've never been to before.
Is there anything that pops out that you want to do while you're here?
I definitely want to see Mount Rushmore. And if I can, so back when I learned about the Homesteading Act, you know, North Dakota and Alaska still have areas that, you know, if you want to mine, if you want to prospect, you can mark out territory and improve the property. And then it becomes
Greg and I are going mining when we go.
I know. I'm sitting here like,
I'm really happy that you brought this up.
This is Step Brothers moment. It's like, did we just become best friends?
Well, you know, it's funny because you got to imagine a bunch of libertarians probably have the same line of thinking about that sort of thing. So yeah, that's on my list. You know, it's because it's a working thing for me. I mean, obviously I got to do a lot of meetings. I got to do a lot of schmoozing, stuff like that. There is, you know, not everybody knows about this, but if you are a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party, there is a special party for lifetime members If you're not a lifetime member, you can go, but it's $500. I wouldn't spend $500 to do it, but if you want to do it, maybe your partner or whatever. But I'm going to that. That's going to be like my one sort of fun. Can't say let my hair down, but my really chill out event. But all the other stuff, I'm excited to be there. I do have a mathematician's weakness for gambling, so I'm going to go to the casino one night.
Hit Deadwood, yeah.
Yep, yeah. So yeah, I should definitely do Deadwood, man. That series was awesome.
Well, if you want to do a little gambling, that's where I'd suggest you go. Is Deadwood.
All right, are you from there, Greg?
No, we live on the other side of the state.
Gotcha.
I've been there though, and it's pretty set up like the old Western style setup. So it's
what's interesting is I am actually driving up. So it's incredibly expensive to fly into Rapid City. My brother lives in Denver, so I'm flying into Denver, taking his car, and then driving up from Denver because it's only 6 hours. And then I'll have a car the entire week that I'm there. So I can do a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm actually gonna write this down. Don't want to.
Well, you're also invited if you'd like to come out. The Libertarian Party of South Dakota is having a little meetup Friday night at a bar called the Wobbly Bobby. And
Wobbly Bobby.
Yeah, like Wobbly Bobby, like the cop Pop Bobby.
Yep. All right. Wobbly Bobby, Rapid City.
5 to 7. You're welcome to stop in if you would like to.
I'm there.
Yeah, Larry Sharp's coming too.
Awesome. Larry and I get along.
Apollo Pazel is going to be there too.
Will I be able to make donations to the Libertarian Party of South Dakota while I'm there?
Sure.
Oh yeah, we've got a booth there.
Good.
We're actually auctioning off a semi-automatic 12-gauge shotgun, and John Phillips made us a pretty cool Bowie knife.
He makes the most amazing stuff. That's going to be fantastic. I am. The shotgun is going to be interesting. I guess I'd have to buy a case to fly it back, but that would be cool. I only have 20 gauges at the house right now because that would be my choice of a home defense weapon, and my wife prefers something that's not quite as kicky as a 12 gauge. But I've often thought I can get a 12 gauge because I live in a national park, and so there are so many deer here that during deer season, I'm like, man, we really should do something about these fuckers because they're terrible from our garden. We just finally put up a deer fence, and it's good because it's 8 feet high. But 12 gauge sabot would be a lot better than.
Well, here, let me share my screen real quick, and
all right.
I got a pictures of this thing. You gotta check this bad boy out. This thing's pretty nice. There we go. I wrote a little article, but there's the shotgun.
Wow, that's great.
And then there's John Phillips' knife he made for us.
Yeah,
that thing's pretty nice too.
I saw some of his posts about the restoration of that. That's amazing. I love stuff like that. That is a great looking shotgun. And you said there's going to be a raffle?
Yeah.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah, shout out to Sturgis Honey for donating the shotgun to the party. That's pretty awesome of you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to Freedom Fest. There's never been a big Liberty event like this. This is going to be massive.
No.
Well, let me ask you this: you guys have a great Liberty guy, Stan Adelstein. Do you know him? South Dakota.
Doesn't ring a bell. But...
So he was. I'm going to tell you now. He was state rep in House, and then he was in the Senate in 2005. Really, I mean, he was among the most libertarian elected Republicans, and then he started giving heavily to the party. So I kept always thinking, I'm going to put the link in the chat for you guys. It's pretty easy. Questioniswhy.com is his website, and he's the guy that you guys should be going after with Libertarian Party of South Dakota, collecting some money from this guy because I think he would be happy to give you guys thousands of dollars, and he's close. Also, he's an older guy, and so time's pressing. But get in there. This is a good source for fundraising for you guys.
That sounds good.
Thanks for the heads up, man. That man, appreciate it.
Happy to do it. I know you guys got Val coming up soon, right?
Yeah, she actually just popped in. So, do you have anything you want to plug? Last thing, any last final words and
find out more
statements?
about us. Peopleforliberty.org. Find that legislation link, peopleforliberty.org/legislation, or on the front page. If you know of a Liberty event anywhere in the country, please just enter it into our database. We want to have the biggest calendar of Liberty events, at least in the United States, and we want to get people involved in legislation. So those are the big things. I'm super psyched you guys are going to get to talk to Val because she's a genius.
Well, thanks for coming on, Dan. You got a lot of great insights from you, and
I look forward to it. Well, thank
really
you.
appreciate you.
I'm psyched to see you guys at the Wobbly Bobbly Friday at 7:00.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Yep.
I got to take a break for a second.
Okay. Well, I'll introduce Valerie then while you're gone. Welcome to the Hedgehog Watchdog, Valerie Durham. She's the conference director of Freedom Fest. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. End of my last weekend before.
Yeah, things are starting to get real close.
I'll be in Rapid City at this time next week. So I got 1 week to get it all done. I can do it.
So this is a question we asked all our guests. What was the final straw that got you into the Liberty movement?
Well, that's a great question, except that I was born into the Liberty movement.
Okay.
So I feel like I never really left or had to come back.
That's a good answer.
So there was a straw. I've lived in a house made of straw. No, I don't know. But yeah, my family has been involved in the campaign to legalize gold starting in 1974. My great uncle is Cleon Skousen, who wrote The Naked Capitalist, The Naked Communist. He started the National Center for the Study of the Constitution, Making of America. Glenn Beck's a big fan of his. And then my own grandfather and my dad, who's an Austrian economist and runs Freedom Fest. So it's something that we've always been in our lives. But two things happened to get me involved with Freedom Fest directly. I had gotten out of graduate school for dance because I'm actually a dancer by training, and that's kind of my main vocation is a dancer. That doesn't pay crap. I don't know if we're allowed to curse on your podcast, but it doesn't pay very well. Yeah. It's a great thing to do, but everyone's always like, you love to dance, so you want to do it for free, right? And it's like, no, I'm a professional. I'd like to get paid, but anyway. So the previous conference director for Freedom Fest wanted to retire. And so my parents offered it to me. And I jumped at the chance. It was a perfect opportunity for me in my life. And so what I love is that I have all of this left brain kind of organizational stuff and intellectual stuff that I love. And Freedom Fest fills that completely with some creativity as well. You have to be very creative and flexible. So I draw on my dance and artistic self to get into that creative realm. And then I have the dance side too. So I got a good right brain, left brain thing going on.
So does that keep you busy all year then? Like
yes.
From the minute you're done with Freedom Fest, you're planning the next
It's starting like the very next day. It's funny because my dad likes to take a vacation after Freedom Fest. And I used to take those with them, with the family. We'd go drive around Nevada or California or something and go to the national parks and now I'm like, Dad, I got to get back to work. Like, next year is starting now. I've got to wrap up this year. It is amazing how it is a full-time job. And we are a very small team. We're a family business, and we're all family except for we have one full-time member who's not a member of the family. So we had to adopt him. So he's like an unofficial cousin, or Matt Day, who used to be with FECON. He came over and has been working with us for the past 2 years. But of course, he started with us right before the pandemic. And so he helped us plan all of 2020, but then it got canceled last minute by Governor Sissy Black. And so he has been with us for 2 years, but hasn't yet been to a Freedom Fest. So that poor guy doesn't know whether he's coming or going, but he's been awesome. And has been great to get him over from FECon with all of his knowledge and expertise. But yeah, we're a small team, and it takes us all year to do all the things that we want to try to bring as this platform. And really the mission of Freedom Fest is to give an opportunity once a year where everyone who cares about liberty in any capacity, in any side of the spectrum, can come together and talk about this stuff in really open ways, in a really civil way. We really eschew kind of like labels, and we don't do name calling, and we don't put people down. We definitely have a point of view about liberty being the premier principle that we should all draw upon. But there's a lot of ways to get there, and we don't find that we have found that you don't get more freedom by harassing each other and putting each other down. That never changes anybody's mind. Rarely. Maybe like 0.001% of the time. You got to find that common ground, and then you can move forward. So that's what we try to do.
So Freedom Fest is normally in Las Vegas, but this time it's in South Dakota. Can you explain how that decision was made to move it to Rapid City?
I alluded to it a little earlier. So we have been in Vegas since 2002 when we started as Fee Fest all those years ago. And last year we did everything we could do to try to make Freedom Fest happen. And I have to say, Caesars Entertainment was great. They they changed hotels for us. They gave us more space and more space and more space. I mean, we were filling Caesars Palace because we were having to socially distance everything. And finally, but the lowest we felt we could get was 250 per room. If we couldn't be at least 250, and these were ballrooms that usually fit like 3,000 people, and we were going to just fit 250, and we were like satelliting stuff. I must have planned that freaking conference last year 7 times, like different configurations. It was unbelievable. And then like 10 days before, Sisolak said, I'm not increasing capacity. And he said 50 per group, which meant we didn't even know what that meant. Does that mean 50 per room, like in a room, or and they had no definition. They just said, he said 50 per group. We don't know what that means. And so we thought, you can't even have an exhibit hall. Like, how do you have a general session with 50 people in a room? We had 1,100, 1,200 people still wanting to come. And so it was impossible. Like, we couldn't fit, there weren't enough rooms. And even then we did find out later that it did mean like Freedom Fest could only have 50 people total.
Wow.
Was that kind of a government mandate, or was that more of a?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was coming from the governor of Nevada. He was one of the governors who was particularly strict and like freaked out about the whole thing. And I don't want to criticize anybody, but I'll just say I was surprised, as powerful as the casinos and the hotel and the convention business is in Las Vegas, like that they didn't say, hey, I'm surprised that so many businesses caved, honestly. And that if there was going to be a trigger for me, and actually I have to say I did get more involved with the Libertarian Party, and that's how I know Dan, because he's in Maryland, and I've gotten more involved in the Libertarian Party of Maryland because I was deeply concerned with how so many people reacted to this pandemic, the shutdowns, the lockdowns, the mandates, and how compliant everyone was, and how any kind of dissent, any kind of questioning was shut down by big tech and government and media and just my neighbors. Like in Maryland, you couldn't even address the efficacy of masks and the detrimental side of it. But can we also see that this is detrimental for child development, that this is detrimental for, other aspects, and that breathing your own filth all day long ain't so good for you either. So yeah, that was something where I thought we've really gone off track. Like the powers that be that have pushed us in our entertainment, our media, and our education to be more compliant, more sheep-like. Gosh, I'm being really bold. I hope your audience is helpful. I have concerns. It made me concerned that the spirit of open dialogue was so restricted, and that people were so willing to just say, yes, government, tell me what to do, keep me safe, I have no mind of my own. That was very troubling. And I felt like I have gotten more involved, even though I never quite left, but I've definitely gotten like jumped my feet a little bit in the water.
Well, you're a powerful voice, and our movement definitely needs more people like you. So we appreciate it. What are you looking forward to the most this year during Freedom Fest?
Oh gosh. Well, I gotta say, I didn't fully answer the question about Vegas. I complained about Vegas, but I didn't quite answer the question. So after Vegas shut us down, we were wondering, we just didn't feel confident for 21 that they would be open again. And we thought to ourselves, we've got to find a place that gives us the best chance. Like, we understood that nothing was guaranteed. And this was like back in the fall. We had to decide this back in September. You know, we couldn't wait to see how things were going to go. We wanted to give ourselves the best shot. And multiple people started contacting us and saying, you need to look at South Dakota. You need to look at South Dakota. A lot of people said Sioux Falls. And so Matt Day and I, our director of programming, we flew out to South Dakota. We visited Rapid City and Sioux Falls. And I have to say, we loved both of them. We ultimately picked Rapid City because of the Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, Deadwood. We just felt like there was a bucket list kind of feel where so many people have said, I've never been to Mount Rushmore. I've always wanted to go. I never had a reason to go to. Then they'll say North Dakota, and then I have to correct them. No, it's in South Dakota. I know that mistake gets made a lot. No, in South Dakota. And so the response was overwhelming. Like, people were super excited when we announced. It was a big risk on our part. And I got to tell you, visit Rapid City, the different vendors, the venue of now the Monument, but previously Rushmore Plaza Civic Center. Everyone across the board has been so incredibly supportive, involved, engaged, gone the extra mile. Our partner at Black Hills Vacations, which helped us with all of we have 15 hotels. We've never had that before. And most we have like 2. You know, we have like the main hotel where you come down the elevator and you go to the convention space, and maybe there's like an ancillary cheaper version right across the, you know, casino or something. So to have 15 hotels, we're dealing with shuttle buses and all this stuff. Everyone's been fantastic. So I'm excited to go back to Rapid City and visit with all my friends, because every time I go back for a different site visit, I have more fun, meet better people. Like, it's incredible. So I'm hoping that that 2 things happen. Number one, when people come to Rapid City, especially for those who haven't been before, that they just experience Rapid City and all of these surrounding landmarks for the absolutely gorgeous, you know, icons that they are in America. And not enough people have been and experienced that. So I really hope people come and fall in love with Rapid City and Western South Dakota. It's just awesome. And also, I'm really looking forward to this opportunity in such a big way to have the libertarian side of the liberty movement come together, and for the first time since this lockdown, and really get a chance to engage, network, connect. And I'm hoping for a lot of initiatives to come forward after. And this is the exciting thing about Freedom Fest, is that you make connections with people. You meet up with different think tanks, grassroots organizations, activists, policy people, thinkers, experts, journalists, whatever, and you find these and businesses. You know, we also have a ton of businesses. Like, we've got entrepreneurial venture capital kind of support, so that as people have business ideas, they can get those propelled. Donors are there. It's amazing. So I'm hoping that we see like an interconnectivity and collaboration that spawns some really effective work going forward to make effective change in our country back towards greater freedom, especially influencing our young people who seem to really have missed the message of the value of individuality, choice, you know, and that isn't just in choosing whether you like your social interactions. I think young people have a lot of ideas about choice, about lifestyle and things like that, which is great, but they're losing that idea of choice economically and politically. And so I would love to see a reinvigoration of what we're teaching our young people to understand freedom.
Are there any things for kids to do there since we're talking about young people?
Yeah. So for the first time ever, we're having a student track. So in Rushmore G, which is upstairs, from Wednesday at 1:00 all the way through till Saturday at 5, we're having student-directed programming, and it's being co-sponsored by the Foundation for Economic Education, Tuttle Twins, America's Future, Stossel in the Classroom. We have TK Coleman coming. Julie Borowski is coming. Senator Mike Lee is going to come and give a civics lesson just to the students. Mm-hmm. And then the Tuttle Twins, which has been incredibly popular as a book series, is actually being made into an animated television show. And they are going to do a premiere, a world premiere of the first episode of Tuttle Twins TV series at Freedom Fest in that last student programming slot. So we've got them all meeting at Murphy's Pub out in the outdoor section where they have all the fun games and stuff afterwards. And maybe they'll head over to Press Start, the new video game kind of arcade restaurant, which also looks really fun. So there is going to be a lot of fun stuff for like middle school, high school, and college-age kids. We also have the student debate showcase where students come from all over the world and they engage in a whole series of debates on various issues. They're going to talk about like vaccine passports and debate that. They're going to talk about like space exploration and whether that should be a private endeavor or a publicly supported one. So they talk about all kinds of cool things, and they're really great debaters.
Chris German says, "Welcome to South Dakota."
Thank
you. I don't know if she's here
yes.
yet, but she's coming soon.
We cannot wait.
I know she knows more about Rapid City than I do. Me and Devin, we live.
I have walked Rapid City quite a bit, and I love it. Oh my gosh! I'm going to my chiclet. My chiclet, yeah.
I'm actually afraid to look at the schedule because there's so much going on, and you know that there's going to be stuff that you got to make a choice. You're like, all right, what do I go to? We had Joanne on here talking about the Anthem Film Festival, and one of the things I was most excited about is that Ayn Rand graphic novel movie that's going to be playing, and there's just so much to do. It's going to be great.
I'm super excited. There is a lot going on. JP Sears is coming, and Dave Rubin, and Tom Woods, and Naomi Wolf, and Ayan Hirsi Ali. We're blown away by the support that we've gotten this year, and I think it's because people are so anxious to make a difference and make sure that what has happened to us gets changed. But it is a lot. We have 260 speakers. We have like 160 some odd sessions. We have 175 or 180 exhibitors. It's our biggest exhibit hall. John Mackey of Whole Foods calls it the trade show for liberty. And we really push that exhibit hall. And I really feel like coming in and meeting with those different businesses and organizations that all have a foundation of liberty is a huge part of the experience. Like, it's not some ancillary, the exhibit hall, like, it's integral. You've got to, coming to Freedom Fest is about engagement. So you want to come, and all these organizations are coming here to Rapid City, like normally you'd have to go out to California, New York, and DC, and Atlanta, and wherever, and spread out all over the world, but they're all like converging. It's like having Embassy Row of the Liberty Movement right in the Civic Center. So it's pretty special and pretty awesome to engage with all that in one place. We do record all the sessions, so some people buy the sessions afterwards, and I feel like you have to come with friends and like divide and conquer. Okay, you go do this, you go do that, and then you like meet up afterwards and discuss what everybody heard and learned.
That'll be the one nice thing about me and Devin being there. We're covering it, but we can, if there's something that we both want to check out, we can split up.
Hi, Ken. I'm excited about Freedom Fest too.
Ken actually ran for office as a libertarian
fabulous
years ago.
He's an old chair.
Awesome.
He's an old school. Yeah.
I feel that we need to do two things. Number one, as libertarians, we really do need to start running for local stuff. Like, don't feel like you have to be ready. Get involved with your, local, with your state party and start running for stuff. City council, board of education, like start running for things because that makes a difference. And I also feel like we should start infiltrating. Okay, like is anyone listening? Start infiltrating the bureaucracy because it's kind of like jury nullification. You know what I mean? Like if we were in positions where we're like looking at all this stuff and we can make those subtle, nuanced, even decisions that guide us towards more freedom, I feel like we could have a huge impact. And I know there's a lot of people who feel like, oh, we shouldn't take government money, we shouldn't have government jobs, but I actually think we should. It exists. Ayn Rand said that if you don't support a government program, then you're morally, ethically able to participate in it. But if you don't support it, then morally you shouldn't participate. So we don't support bureaucracy in any, so we should get in there and use it to our advantage to like change stuff. So that's my advocacy, that we run for local office and we get involved in the bureau, get a job with the government so you can infiltrate.
You remember
Ron Swanson? Damn it!
Ron Swanson.
But there was one quote from that show. It was like the greatest quote, and it said something like, she asked him to be in charge of some government program or whatever, and he says something like, well, I don't think the position should even exist, but in that case, I'm the best man for the job,
Exactly. I justified that very early on after my dance career. I mean, when I got my dance training and I graduated from college, I had an opportunity to work in dance, but it would require me to get grants and I was like, I'm not going to do it. That's so and so I ended up going into marketing and all kinds of other things because I didn't choose to do that. But later I had my own business in multimedia, and a huge, opportunity for work was to get government contracts. At this time it was like, late 90s. So websites were huge and converting documents to PDFs and HTML and all this stuff and all the compliance things you had to do. And so my partner and I, we debated. We were like, I don't know. And then I said, you know what? They're going to award this contract anyway. And we know that we're going to give a good price, do good work, and we're not going to bilk the government. And it's kind of like a way that it kind of sucks. I have to work it back, but I'm like getting my tax money back. So we got a lot of contracts, and we know that we were not, overcharging. We were doing excellent work, and we felt kind of like it was, justified. I don't know if it is. I'll probably get all kinds of complaints later, like I'm a terrible person, but that's okay. I don't do it anymore.
Dale Root says, I love the infiltration idea. I've been a fan of it for a long time.
Infiltrate. We got to do it.
So how many people are going to be at Freedom Fest? Do we have a total number?
Yeah, we have 2,300 already officially signed up, and that does not even count. Still, most of our speakers aren't signed up. Most of our exhibitors aren't signed up. Media is still signing up. A lot of local people are coming, and I think they're kind of waiting because we have a special price for local people. If you go to freedomfest.com and click the register now button, you'll see there's an option for South Dakota local, and that gives you the early bird price. And so we wanted to make it kind of really effective for people to come. I'm telling you, South Dakotans, you need to take advantage of this because the Liberty world is coming to you. You don't have to get a hotel. You don't have to, find a flight. You don't need to rent a car. And this is a great opportunity. Students can come for $149. Young professional people like 30 and under, there's a special rate of $299. So it's a lot of content, and I know that it's, and we cover a lot. So it's maybe more expensive but if you had to come to Vegas next year, it'd be a lot more expensive. So take advantage now and come on that South Dakota local rate. Because
this is pretty once in a lifetime thing in South Dakota. We don't usually get any big Liberty events here ever.
Although I think the secret's out of the bag. Like I feel like, I kind of think I know a conservative women's group is coming and a few others. I think people are starting to really take notice. And like I said, it's been different than Vegas, and in fact, our convention services manager at the Civic Center is fantastic, but she has to remind, I'll call her up and I'll be like, can we just do da 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 da? She's like, Valerie, it's not Vegas. Our favorite moment, in all honesty, like we're in Rushmore Hall for the exhibit hall, and there are a couple of these rooms right outside, right off the exhibit hall, and we thought, oh, can we use this for our media rooms, and we'll pipe and drape them. They were a little, so we go in there and we're looking at them. And we're like, what? These rooms are like really, rough. They're like very. And she said, well, this is where we wash the cows. And I got to tell you, that was a very not Vegas experience.
What are they washing cows for?
Well, I guess sometimes they'll have cattle shows in the. This is a multi-purpose room that we're converting into the trade show for Liberty. So we thought maybe we won't make that.
You should have put the mainstream media in there since they're slinging bull. And
you nailed it. Oh gosh, we wouldn't let mainstream media come anyway. Maybe we would. I don't know. No. They could use a good dose of it.
No, you're back. So you do some work for the Libertarian Party of
killed the stream.
Maryland.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, I, like everyone else, was lonely. Lonely and isolated. Me and my rescue dog. I also got the dog along with everyone else in the country. But she's adorable. I love her. I'm so glad I got her. So I thought to myself, I should get involved because there'll be other people who think like me. They'll be libertarians. And so I reached out to the party, and then I got involved with our county, group under the party. Now, for me, and again, don't tell anybody this, but it was just a social thing. Like I just wanted to meet other libertarians and have things to do and all this stuff. So I started going to the monthly meetings on Zoom. And Kyle Walker, who used to work, he's worked for Coke and he's worked for Students for Liberty, and he's an awesome guy. He was the chair. And then I think I attended 2 meetings or something like that. And I'm getting involved and making suggestions and doing my Capricorn, event planner thing that I do. Yeah. And, but just, but I it was just because.
Then you got roped in.
So he decides to change jobs and he can't be chair anymore. So he calls me up and he's like, hey, Val, why don't you be chair? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So they sucked me into being chair of the Montgomery County Libertarians. But it's been great. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm figuring it out. But the state committee, Eric Blitz and Crystal Woodworth and David Dull and Kyle O'Donnell have been fabulous. And they've got a good energy. And we don't have any of the craziness going on in our state party. We're solid. We get along. We're got focused on the work. I won't go into what I'm alluding to, but there's really good stuff going on in Maryland, and we've got a good potential gubernatorial candidate, maybe even a good senatorial candidate, lieutenant governor, attorney general. And then again, we're pushing to try to get very local city council, county council kind of people in position, because that is a place where local works and makes a difference. I want to get my roads paved. I feel like I pay enough taxes, and the money's going somewhere. So I need a libertarian.
You got toll roads out there, don't you?
They have tons of toll roads, but my neighborhood road is like we're in Iraq. I mean, it's like right. I'm driving. It's nuts. Montgomery County needs to get it together and pave my road. My roads.
You're triggering libertarians now.
Yeah. That's my job. Trigger libertarians. Not really. See, there's no messages. There's no messages coming up yet, though. So maybe there will.
No. Nobody's complaining yet. Yeah, that seems to be what happens. I took it for granted for a lot of years. too. I mean, I was a registered libertarian since 2009, but I never got involved with the state party or nothing until I showed up to my first convention in 2016. And then you just kind of get roped in to taking a job. And
if you have any kind of intelligence, capability, breathing, you get roped in, but we need it, and I feel like that is, I like Devin's first question about like, what was the straw that got you involved? And it wasn't quite like that for me, except I did get more involved. And I feel like because of our philosophy, where we're so willing, we want to be left alone to live our lives the way we want to live our lives. And we kind of do that to other people too. If you want to, have socialist feelings and agenda and, well, okay, but don't bother me. Unfortunately, a lot of people who have those feelings don't feel that way. And they want to, change our lives to fit their model. And I think that's one of the problems is we're too complacent and not realizing that we can't live and let live, unfortunately, because our rights do get encroached on when we do that. And we have to have a stronger sense of boundary and principle and, frankly, activism. So, I mean, that's one reason we do Freedom Fest, to give that opportunity for people to come together. And we can't be siloed. We need to be communicating. We need to be working together. We shouldn't be infighting. I understand a difference of opinion, and that's vital and important. If you have a different message, a different approach, a different opinion, great. But to tear each other down, undermine each other, not talk to each other, those kinds of things. We have a little joke. Sometimes we feel like we should have a session at Freedom Fest that calls, again, I might get in big trouble for this. We should not do Sunday night where I've had a glass of wine, but we want to do a session on like how to heal your libertarian feud. Like we feel like that would be a really valuable, here are the healing policy principles and how we can get back together. And because, we have something in my mind that's special, precious, and true. And we need to actually actively present that, not just talk about it, not just moan about it, not just, pontificate, but like do and put our principles into action. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I'm afraid who said it, but someone was mentioning that we should have like that Josh fight where they all had the pool noodles and they went to battle with each other. Like that would kind of like help bring people. Yeah.
The great pool noodle battle.
Yeah, like if we did that in Reno.
I'm going to now think about doing that because we're going to have the great pool at the Mirage. And 2020, our theme, I'm giving another secret here, turning the tide. So it's going to be a whole ocean. So I think we should have a pool noodle battle to push ourselves to a new level. Turn the tide.
So is Freedom Fest the biggest liberty conference, do you think, in the U.S.?
I think libertarian based it is. CPAC obviously is big, and the different conventions. The Libertarian Party convention is big. I think we're bigger.
I think you guys got way more events.
We're bigger than the convention, but there are other. I mean, LibertyCon, which is now the Freer Future Fest, and FECon, which I'm not sure they're going to, but those are all really student based. Atlas Network has some great conferences, but they're really more focused on the think tanks themselves, and it doesn't really involve so many like kind of consumer. I feel like what's unique about Freedom Fest is that we are big. We try to be very big tent. We want people on all parts of the spectrum coming, which is challenging because we have found that certain segments will talk about wanting to be inclusive, but then they'll say, oh, but I won't be on stage with such and such a person. I won't appear on stage. And, there are people that are controversial, and we struggle with, where's that line to try to stay in that kind of libertarian vein. But we recognize that there are people, we don't use right and left, but people who lean more one way or another or have different views that still have something valid to contribute. So we try to be more open like that. But I forget where I was going with that, but okay, I'll just end there. I don't know what to say.
Well, go ahead, Greg, if you had a question about Freedom Fest. I was gonna change subjects a little.
What just like what would be one of your favorite moment or some of your favorite moments from the past conventions?
We have quite a few. Okay, so I loved it when Glenn Beck and Penn Jillette were really good friends. So we had the Penn and Glenn conversation.
Yeah, that was.
And they sat down together, and my dad was moderating, and they were having this great conversation. And then Glenn Beck says, "These are the most uncomfortable chairs I've ever been in my life," which of course I was responsible for, securing and providing. Like that was totally my fault. He's like, "These are the worst chairs ever." So he stands up, goes to the edge of the stage, and just sits on the edge of the stage. So then, of course, Penn gets up, goes over, sits. My dad gets up, and they're just sitting on the edge of the stage and just laughing and joking. That was just one of those spontaneous moments that you can't, predict. We had another great moment with William Shatner in 2017 where he was like wrestling on stage. That was really fun. So my first year was 2015. Yeah. 2015, right when Donald Trump announced. So he ended up coming to Freedom Fest. Again, it was very difficult for us to decide. Now, at the time, he was just the dude who did Celebrity Apprentice. He was not the front runner. We never thought he was going to be president. And we really brought him because he's a business guy and, kind of free market and Celebrity Apprentice. And he's a name. And so we were like, well, yeah, let's do it. But then right before he came, he said the whole murderers, rapists, some of them are good people line. And we were like, well, that's not cool. So then we had to we made sure that there was like a Q&A so that and we asked Roberto Salinas it was to come up and ask a question, like to challenge him on this concept. So that was a whole thing. And meeting him and the way he was backstage was like really interesting. He was super dynamic. So the next year we had the big Trump debate, and there were people like Jeff Tucker and Nick Gillespie on stage. And this debate got so heated. People were like standing up and like yelling at each other because they were like the passions were so vigorous. Yeah. About Donald Trump, and we were like we thought they were going to come to blows. It was really intense, like very entertaining, but very strong feelings. And that was something that was always interesting about Trump is that, oh my gosh, we get impassioned letters of how excited people were that we had Donald Trump, and then we get letters of just like how could you possibly? And he is it's like one or the other. Very few people are. He's just a really super polarizing figure. So that was interesting to have him there. And then to see in the course of the years after, kind of that kind of polarization and impact as it goes along. The thing is, I'm always running around doing everything like a chicken with my head cut off. So you'd have to ask attendees what the best moments were, because I'm always running around like, I don't know what's going on. I set it up, it's like I set up the board game and then I'm like, play. I walk away and do other stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. There's never been anything as big as this that's came to South Dakota, I don't think. I've been to a couple.
Maybe Sturgis, the bike rally.
Sturgis.
And that was one of the things that made us think of going. It's like, if they can have 250,000 bikers, we can have, Freedom Fest.
Yeah, just don't try to hold it at the same time.
No, it's 2 weeks later. But I think we'll see a few, bikers showing up.
Yeah, thankfully it was a couple weeks earlier because they really jack up all the prices on everything during that bike rally.
Yeah, it's true. Even the hotel rooms during Freedom Fest are expensive.
I'd say that was probably one of the downsides, I guess, for you guys was picking. Rapid City is definitely a great destination. You got a lot of stuff to do, but the accommodations are definitely not what you're used to. like you mentioned at Vegas. Had to split up to quite a few hotels and whatnot. But
yeah, I mean, again, the hotels have been awesome, and I have to say they have been super accommodating and have done the best that they can. It has been weird for us to be in so many different hotels and try to coordinate all of that. And I think that that's a good learning experience for us, because I'll say we have a lot of people coming this year because we're not in Vegas, because we're in South Dakota. And they're like, I've always wanted to come to Freedom Fest, but I hate Vegas. I just hate it. And now I'm going to come. We also have people who aren't coming because we're not in Vegas. So moving forward, we're thinking, and it's been so fun I love Vegas, and they have a lot to offer, and the entertainment's great, and the food is great, and it's like cool and all that stuff. But it's been so creatively fun to go to a new place and learn. So we're thinking we're going to start alternating. So next year we'll be back in Vegas for 2022 at the Mirage. And then the next year we'll be somewhere else in America. We don't know where yet. It could be New Orleans, Anchorage, Portland, Maine, Charleston, South Carolina. Like, those are just some of the places that we're looking at, because there's so many cool places in America. And we've had such a good experience in South Dakota meeting people. We're like, we want to meet more people and kind of enjoy the other aspects of this great country of ours. Maybe we'll go international someday. We'll see. I don't know. That could be interesting.
I think Alaska would be a good choice. I've always wanted to go Alaska, but I don't have a reason to go.
You don't have a reason. See, it's another kind of bucket list kind of thing. Like, I always wanted to go to Mount Rushmore. Now I have a reason. Always wanted to go to Alaska. Now I have a reason. So we'll see.
So you said next year you guys are in Vegas again. When is it next year?
It's July 13th through the 16th at the Mirage.
Well, sounds like we're just going to have to stay in Nevada for like 3 weeks, because the Libertarian National Convention is in Reno.
Yep.
And I believe, I'm not 100% on the dates, but it's maybe like a week before Freedom
Fest.
Pretty
close. Yeah, it's pretty close.
So sorry to hear that. Did you hear that? We're going to Vegas for like
going to Vegas, going to Nevada, making a road trip.
Coming home broke.
Coming home broke. or really wealthy.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank you, Carol. I agree. We are
Portland, Maine.
This is our Freedom Fest. We're going on all of these site visits. So we're going to Anchorage, we're going to New Orleans, we're going to Portland, probably Charleston. There might be one or two others. And we will see, just like with this one, Sioux Falls was awesome. They have a great convention center there. The people who showed us around, amazing. That downtown area was spectacular. But we just got this feeling when we went to Rapid City. And I think the same thing will happen. We'll go to these different places and we'll just kind of get the spidey sense of like, this is where Freedom Fest 2023 should be. But we are excited about being back in Vegas next year. And the Mirage is a gorgeous facility. And the meeting space is really awesome. And we're super excited about taking our experience from Rapid City and what we learned from doing things here, which has been very instructive. We've really learned a lot. We've deepened our ability, I think, to plan a good conference by being in Rapid City and experiencing what it had to offer and taking that back to Vegas and then moving on to something else and then coming back and, doing all that. We're excited. It keeps it interesting and fun.
I have a question that's not Freedom Fest related, but it's like about you. If you could sit down with one historical figure and, I don't know, have lunch with them or something, or ask some questions, who would that be?
That is a tough question. It's like asking me my favorite anything. I have no answer. Yeah. Like I have 50, ask me my favorite film. It's like I've got 100 favorite films. Like favorite in musical, favorite in drama, favorite in James Bond, favorite in,
How about your favorite historical libertarian figure?
Okay. So in all honesty, in my libertarian world, I would want to sit down with my great grandfather, Benjamin Franklin. Wow. I'm a direct descendant of Benjamin Franklin, and I think he is the coolest of the founding fathers. He was the one who was the most dynamic, the hippest, the most, I think of all the founding fathers, he was the most visionary, like with the abolition And he was so multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
A scientist, a journalist, a writer, a diplomat. He was just an amazing man who started the post office. Not so good now, but interesting for back then. Library system, colleges for African Americans. So I have a huge amount of respect for him, and I just think he would be a fascinating guy to sit down and talk to. Lots of pithy comments. He'd probably hit on me, even though I'm his daughter and great. I don't know, probably not. That would be sick. Like, don't do that, Grandpa Ben.
That was a different time, I guess.
That was a different time. Gosh.
So you're a professional dancer, huh? You got your own studio. Do you teach? What do you do?
Yeah, so
that?
I've done all of that. So the other historical figure that I really respect on the artistic side is my kind of the artist that I follow. Her name is Isadora Duncan, and she was a Californian, lived more than 100 years ago, and she was known as the mother of modern dance. And she really rebelled against what I call the 3 B's of dance back in the 19th century, which was ballet, not the kind of ballet we see today, very pantomimic and stilted, ballroom dance, which was lovely and wonderful, but not very artistic, and then burlesque, can-cans and vaudeville dance and all that kind of stuff, which also wonderful in its own way, but not very artistic. And so Isadora really felt like, I want to dance my way and say something really expressive. So she went and studied Greek and Renaissance art, but she also studied philosophy. She studied Nietzsche. She studied evolution. She studied science. Like, she learned all about X-rays and used the wave theory to explore her movement. So our movement has all this flow. So there's no like poses where you freeze. Everything has a sense of rise and then fall and then pulling. And so everything has like a wave motif. It's all based in the breath. Sent from the center, from the heart center, everything expands out. So I also really loved, and I think this is why I really connected with her, is that she believed, as opposed to the aristocratic form of ballet where you had the principal ballerina and the principal dancer who were supposed to represent the king and the queen, and then you had the corps de ballet where everyone was like very much the same, which represented either the court or kind of like the military, because everyone was so regimented in their dancing. So it was like a reinforcement of the European social order. But Isadora broke through all that and she said, no, we don't dance the same, because you are you and I am me. And so whatever we dance, even if we're doing the same movement, you're going to do it in your expressive way and find your voice in that and look like, so I'm going to look like Valerie dancing this, and Greg is going to look like Greg dancing this, and Devin's going to look like Devin dancing this. I know you're about to break into dance. I can tell. But I think that individuality and that expressiveness really appealed to me, that there wasn't a sense of conformity. Now, she did end up going to communist Russia after the Bolshevik Revolution because they promised her a school. And so she wanted to go and like have this huge school with 1,000 children. And she had these grand visions. And then she gets there and she's like wearing the peasant clothes, and she shows up for dinner with like the new Soviet government, and they're all in their fancy stuff. And she's like, y'all are a bunch of hypocrites. Like, it was pretty awesome. She found out right quick that, it was just all, BS. And so she ended up having to go on tour and leave the school because they gave her no money, because they had no money, because it was freaking Soviet Russia. But she's a really cool person. And I danced my whole life, but once I discovered her work while I was in college, that's where I've dedicated myself and really focused on becoming a master teacher, performer, and choreographer in her style and her repertory. Yeah.
That's really cool.
We kind of look at Greek goddesses dancing because we wear tunics and the hair's down and the arms are bare and we're prancing around like we're nymphs or something. It's exciting.
Sounds interesting.
It is. And of course the pandemic really messed with me. So I didn't dance through the pandemic because
you weren't one of the TikTok nurses. Everyone else was dancing. Why'd you stop?
Not me. I'm not. No. I'm not going to debase myself in this way. My art is real.
Don a pair of scrubs and get.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My tunic is way cooler than a pair of scrubs. What you talking about? Yeah, but dancing on Zoom didn't really do it for me. But I'm excited now because as soon as Freedom Fest is done, I'm going to be starting a new piece, and it's going to be premiering the weekend of September 10th. So I'm going to be as soon as Freedom Fest is, I have work to do, but I have enough time. It's not as intense, and I can start. I'll be in rehearsal 3 to 4 times a week, and put together this piece that'll premiere in September, which I'm really excited about.
You got a website or anything?
ValerieDurham.com is my dance website. Yeah.
Well, you got anything else, Devin?
No, I don't have any more Freedom Fest questions. I got a whole bunch of questions. They keep asking questions forever, but
hey. we got 9 more minutes, guys. You promised me a full 60 minutes.
All right. I got one question. Where do you see the state of the country in 5 years?
Ugh.
You think it's going to be improved, or do you think it's going to be Weimar Republic, Germany, where we have treadmills full of U.S. dollars that aren't worth anything anymore?
All right. I think it could be better if all of us start doing a whole hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's really on us. And like I said, I'm actually not kidding. We've got to start doing more dramatic things, really getting up in the faces of the school board, really challenging our city governments, really challenging our neighbors, not in demeaning ways. We got to quit the yelling and putting people down stuff that does not help convert anyone over or let them see the light. If any of you have ever been in a fight and you have someone screaming in your face that you're an asshole, has that ever changed your mind? Oh my gosh, you're right. Let me change your point of view. It doesn't work. So all this Twitter crap with people jumping down people's throats, it's completely ineffectual. It wastes our time. It wastes our energy. So I would first of all say you got to quit yelling at everybody on Twitter. Second of all, you have to get involved and start in a principled, I don't want to get again, crazy, but don't take your clothes off to do it. And I love Vermin Supreme, but don't put a boot on your head to do it. You know what I mean? Let's be serious here, because this is our lives and our livelihood. So if we can get serious and if we can get active and stop sitting around and complaining and actually get out there and do something, I think we could affect change in 5 years. I really do. I don't know if we're capable of doing that, in which case I think we're in big trouble. And most likely it's going to take a true break of the system in order to, and then do we have the people like our founding fathers who were not complete in what they did? And I do lament that it wasn't more complete. They did the best that they could, and I wish that they had done better with the situation that was going on at the time for our fellow human beings. But, I want to be on a trajectory of more freedom for all and more equality for all. And there are some things we have to address in terms of, civil rights, criminal justice, social issues, taxation, bureaucracy, and our health. I mean, it's been, the statists have been really able to encroach and just have this plan. And it's been multi-pronged. And honestly, we've all sat back in fighting, and in a lot of cases, there are a lot of people out there doing good work, but sometimes that's been siloed and putting out, just not doing enough. It doesn't get enough traction. There's people doing good work, and then we're not breaking through to really make that impact. So if we can really band together and get it super involved, I think we could make a difference towards the future. Or we all need to go seasteading. Joe Quirk is coming, and that's our other option.
We got a
Free State Project or seasteading, one or the other. Those are our options.
We got a friend that does a podcast. What is it? The Atlantic Sea Colony or something like that. And that's what their whole podcast is about, is just advancements in technology as far as living under the ocean and stuff like that.
It's cool. I hope it doesn't come to that. Like,
well, Elon Musk might have his Mars libertarian paradise. I know there was a thing about when you signed up for that Starlink, I guess, that talked about how the government had no jurisdiction on Mars. I really like that, if that was true.
You know, the problem is that we take our crap with us. You know, I think it's really hard for human beings to let stuff go. Like, you think about going back to our roads, commuting, bankers' hours, the school system with based on an agrarian calendar. Like, why do we have a summer where kids think that they don't do anything for 3 months and that's somehow, and we all yearn for that. There's a lot of things that are legacy things. And I was thinking about this. I was watching Lost in Space, that TV show on Netflix. And it's like, could you really go start a new society? Because people be like, we want Christmas. So people complain about the commercialism of Christmas, but if you went to another country or another, planet or whatever, people be like, oh, I miss Christmas. Let's bring back Christmas. And then you're right back to all the commercialism of Christmas and we're going to get to Mars and be like, wait a second, we need a law for this. Like, we can't just deal with each other like this. We've got to have a law. So I worry that we'll take our crap with us even if we do start that stuff, and it'll just, I don't know what to do about that. I have no solution on that, but that's just a little thought that I have, that we tend to take our crap with us.
Yeah, so we got to fix our problems now before we start colonizing other planets and the oceans.
It's like the whole, if you start a new relationship, but you don't do your inner healing work, you're just going to take your abandonment issues into the new relationship. So we're going to take our statism issues to Mars. If we don't fix that now, we should have like a serious test. Like, it should be Blade Runner. You know what I mean? Like, when they go in at the beginning and they're talking to each other and they're having the test about the turtle and all that stuff. We need like a serious libertarian. Like, are you really a libertarian? Mars. And then, like, if they don't answer correctly, we blow them up or something.
Yeah,
I love that.
Your blood pressure changed when you answer that question. You don't believe
exactly. Your eyes flicker. It's like laser beam. You're not a libertarian. You're not going.
Well, are there any things you want to plug real quick before we final thoughts or final statements?
Come to Freedom Fest. Come say hello to me. I really want to meet everyone in South Dakota. And if you have any ideas for me, email me at vdurham@freedomfest.com. I would love to hear anybody's ideas. And if you want to volunteer, we need a few volunteers, and that's I'm not going to say that, but if you want to volunteer, email me at vdurham@freedomfest.com. But I do hope we'll see lots and lots and lots of you there, because it has been such an honor to organize this conference in Rapid City, and it has been just an awesome experience for us. And we want to say thank you to you guys and to everyone that has helped us bring this conference to a brand new state. We've never done that before, and it's been an awesome experience.
Well, we're definitely excited. 10 days away. I can't wait.
I know, that's crazy. Like I said, so if you want to sign up, www.freedomfest.com, click the register now button. And if you're local South Dakota, find that local South Dakota registration option, gives you a discount, and bring your kids. They can come for the student rate. And I think it's going to be so heartwarming to be with each other, people who believe in freedom, who have and there's such intelligent people who come, and they're, wonderful to talk to, and they're doing good work. And Freedom Fest gets a good vibe. We're going to have a good time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Valerie.
Thank you for coming on.
It.
Yeah.
And I'm really stoked for Freedom Fest too. I think we're going to have a lot of people from Libertarian Party of South Dakota there. So yeah, we're gonna have a good blast, and Fabulous. It's gonna put South Dakota on the map. Finally, people are gonna acknowledge that we exist.
Newsmax is gonna cover it. C-SPAN is covering it. C-SPAN Book TV, Kitco News, C-Suite TV. Like, we're gonna be
the Hedgehog Watchdog's covering it.
Yeah. So it's gonna be good times. Very good.
Well,
Talk.
thank you. We appreciate you coming on tonight and talking with us.
Absolutely. And I'll see you in a few days.
Yeah.
Yep,
See you next week.
There.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. Have a good
Well, that was a good show.
Yeah, dude. That was actually pretty good. I think
if you're not excited for Freedom Fest yet, you're just not.
We've got some news here too for you, that from Americans for Prosperity. If you're looking at that price, we do have a coupon code. Here, I'll start with the coupon code, but then I'll finish with the really good news from Americans for Prosperity. But if you want to go, like I said, you get a discount if you're from South Dakota, and you get another discount if you use the code FF21LPSD. That's the Libertarian Party of South Dakota discount. That'll get you $100 off on your ticket. But we have some other additional news that came up from Americans for Prosperity a couple days ago, and they are offering a free ticket in exchange for 8 hours of volunteer work. So it's not technically free, but I like wording it like that because it. So like they do this at music festivals a lot too, like where you basically volunteer for like one of the days, and then you get like 2 days to do whatever you want. And I don't know what their volunteer work's going to be. Like usually at a music festival, it's like you help people park their cars or like show them where the available parking places are. Something easy. Yeah, like maybe you pick up some recycling or something. But if you're interested, we got an article on hedgehogwatchdog.com. There's 2 emails you can email. I think you can email either one, even if you don't even live in South Dakota or if you're not from West River or East River. I don't think it really matters, but there's 2 emails you can do. I guess I could read them for people listening on Spotify or if you're not watching the video. One email, actually, I'll do this easiest email. It's going to be LNOLEN. That's L Nolan, basically, at afphq.org. And you can contact them, and they will. That's Lisa Nolan's email. And then she will give you the 411 on how to volunteer to get a free ticket to Freedom Fest. And I think you should do this if you haven't gotten your ticket already. Honestly, I would be doing this. Like if I hadn't gotten our tickets already, this is probably the option I would take because you're going to save several $100s. And like Greg and I were mentioning earlier, Libertarian Party of South Dakota is going to be having like an after party event. Is that what it's called? An after party? I keep saying after party. I don't even know if that's like the theme. But we're going to have like our own like special get together. And we've got John Phillips coming and Apollo.
Not John Phillips.
Not John Phillips. Sorry. Larry Sharp. Yeah. Hopefully John Phillips comes. That'd be kind of cool too. We got Larry
the event's
Sharp.
Called Walk, Run, Wobble for Freedom at the Wobbly Bobby. Check out Black Hills Libertarians on Facebook. They have an event set up.
And then we just talked to Daniel Fishman. He said he's coming to the event too. So that's 3 big names that are coming to our own little state party event. And if you show up, we're also, like we mentioned earlier in the show, we're doing a big ass raffle with a 12-gauge automatic shotgun. Huge shout out to Colin Duprell who organized that raffle with the shotgun. That was donated to us, the party, I would say, by Sturgis Honey. So check them out. Huge shout out to them too. And then John Phillips handcrafted us a Bowie knife. Is that how you say it? Bowie or Bowie? How do you pronounce
Bowie.
That? Bowie? Look at that. Look at that nice. Look at that knife, dude. Like, wow. So come down, check out our booth. We're gonna be at booth I think we're at the end of all the booths. Check us out, buy raffle tickets. The raffle tickets basically go right to the party. So we'll be able to use that money for our candidates. Come the governor election, which is coming up, and I think we had some. Did we have an official announcement on? That was an investigate. He was forming. Daryl Root said he was going to form a. What do you call it? Like a pre-committee.
Exploratory committee. They call it.
Exploratory committee to run for U.S. House of Representatives. I really hope Daryl runs. He'd be a great candidate. I'd like to see him up there against Dusty Johnson. That'd be pretty epic. You're actually gonna have a real fiscal conservative dude versus Dusty Johnson, who claims to be fiscal conservative on TV, but when you actually look at his voting record, he's voting for all these budgets that are causing all these deficits. So let's get a libertarian in the U.S. House. How about what else? This episode is brought to you by Pinkcoin. Check them out at pinkcoin.com. Greg's got some new shirts up on Hedgehog Watchdog.com right now. Let me share my screen again. Let's check out these new shirts. How about? I think we sold one already. I think they're on sale for $17.76. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah. Got the July 4th special.
We just want to shout out everybody that's been buying these shirts from us. This is literally the only reason we're able to attend Freedom Fest, because Greg and I are not rich by any means. So we actually got enough to pay for our tickets from our t-shirt sales. So yeah, huge shout out to everybody who's bought Hedgehog Watchdog merchandise. Here's the new shirts, legalized 605. These are for $17.76. So I think these are the cheapest items on our store.
I think we make a whole whopping $3 off of them. I set the price a little lower, Let's get them sold.
We also have set up a Patreon. Finally, after 6 months of doing the show, we actually got it set up. Oh no, where's the here we go. Let's share my screen here. But yeah, if you're a big fan of the show, you want to help support our content, subscribe to us on Patreon. Let's kill the mainstream media. Let's start supporting independent media. If you like the guests Greg and I are bringing on, if you think we've been doing a good job representing the Libertarian Party of South Dakota, maybe even like being an open door for people curious about libertarianism who just want to listen to a podcast to learn more about it. We can do so much more than what we're doing now. If we can get some financial support, we can write more blog articles. We can go visit more things, cover more events. Like, I'd like to get to the point where we're at like Jason Ravnsborg's trial, and we can actually afford to just stay there for like a week on end and just report the whole thing. Do you really trust the local media now to do an honest reporting? Because they seem very weak on this case, like very weak. They're like asking softball questions the whole time, especially that state's attorney from Hughes County when they announced that they weren't going to charge him with manslaughter. The whole press conference was softball questions. Like, this is just not something South Dakota can put up with. It's an embarrassment to our state. We need real journalists in there. In order to get that, we need to be able to afford to stay in a hotel room up in Hughes County for a week or two to cover stories like that. And, every $8 goes a long ways to being able to do that. So there's a link for Patreon in our description. We'd really appreciate any donation whatsoever. There's also a donation button on our website, hedgehogwatchdog.com, if you want to do a one-time donation through PayPal or something. But yeah, Freedom Fest. I don't even know if we covered all the cool guests that are going to be there. We usually do it at the end of all the shows, but we got George Jorgensen's going to be there. Dave Smith, he's been pretty big lately. Everybody's talking about Dave Smith. JP Spears, Justin Amash. Everybody's wondering if he's going to run for president for the Libertarian Party. Is he the only U.S. House of Representative candidate with a libertarian title so far?
He was
nationally, they gerrymandered him out of his own district, so that ended quick. But that just means they're afraid of us. They're afraid of what we're saying when we get into the power. So
Spike Cohen's gonna be there. A whole bunch
oh yeah,
of people.
Spike Cohen. Like there's a lot of other people that have been announced later that we just don't have a graphic for, and I can't really remember. Like there's just so many names that we'll just be rattling names off forever. But like we said, Larry Sharp's coming to our event. He's gonna be at Freedom Fest. Mary Root, Maj Tour. Yeah, it's gonna be fun, dude. I'm excited. It's coming up quick, dude. It's gonna be here. Like we're gonna wake up and it's just like, oh shit, we gotta leave to go to fucking Rapid City already. But yeah, looking forward to it. And once again, a shout out to our sponsor, Pinkcoin. Check them out at pinkcoin.com. They're probably gonna be paying for our rooms at Freedom Fest. What campground are we staying at, Greg? If anybody wants to come camp with us at our campground.
So
what was
Elk
that again?
Creek Resort.
Yeah, Elk Creek Resort. So yeah, come camp with us. I think we try to talk Joe Buchman to come camp with us too. He'll, if he does, oh my god, wouldn't that be epic, man? All those UFO stories and stuff we can talk about.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work if Sarwark's staying there and CJ's staying there. I think maybe he should
be good radio. It'll be good radio. It'll be good for our documentary, maybe if we make a documentary.
Heed that advice that Valerie was talking about tonight. That enough with the mud flinging. Let's get to work.
Yeah. I guess should we go through these old comments? There's a bunch of comments that.
Yeah, I don't really.
I don't like
those comments. I don't want to even.
All right, we'll skip them. We're getting late. We're deep in the podcast already. But yeah, I don't like interrupting the guests while they're speaking with the comments. But hey, if you are a Hedgehog hero on Patreon, you have a perk where you can ask our guest questions yourself. So like if you want to because Greg and I hardly even get through our own questions to be able to ask all the audience questions. But if you want your question asked to one of our guests, subscribe to be a Hedgehog hero on our Patreon, and you absolutely can do that. Hopefully you don't ask them something that's never going to bring them back on the show, because that'd suck. But if you're a Hedgehog hero, you're funding us, so you're our boss at that point, in my opinion. Well, yeah, do you have any final thoughts, Greg? I think I've said everything that I can say. Check out South Dakota's Against Prohibition. Check out, like our page, Libertarian Party of South Dakota. I can just keep plugging things for 30 minutes, man. I don't even know when to stop. Maybe we should come up with a landing page or something. I think we do have a little graphic here. Subscribe to us on YouTube, even just a little bit. You don't have to donate to us. Just help us boost our subscriptions up so we can monetize on YouTube, maybe, or Facebook or anything. Like us on Facebook. We're on Twitter too, Hedgehog at Hedgehog WDog. Check out Free Speech Media Network. I don't know how many podcasts are on Free Speech Media Network now, but which means that we are probably one of the number one podcasts now. Since there's only
top five for sure.
Top five for sure. But yeah, check them out. They're great. There's a lot of good libertarian content coming out of Free Speech Media. We appreciate those guys. I like that, to have them, because we get a lot of comments from them that come up, and then we can get comments from people that aren't from South Dakota. So I kind of like that aspect of streaming onto their network too. Well, yeah, that's all I've got. I'm trying to find the outro video real quick so we can get a smooth transition to the ending of the show. But man, we've got 8 people watching live still, Greg. I don't know. Do you want to go through another hour? Just kidding. We don't have any material prepared, folks. I don't know how much longer we can keep talking.
Heck, I was kind of thinking we might skip next Sunday, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, we'll be at Freedom Fest, won't we?
Well, no, but we leave on Monday.
Oh, we leave on Monday.
So we got room if there's anybody that's coming to Freedom Fest. Any big names you want us to try to get last minute?
Maybe we can do I don't know. Maybe we can do a mini show, 30, 40 minutes. I don't know. I don't even know what we would talk about because we'd have a lot going. I'm planning on live streaming a lot at Freedom Fest. So maybe we will skip Sunday. and then do some mini segments like live at the event. Maybe we could talk to people, get people like live on the live stream while we're there. So we do have media passes, so I'm hoping that we'll have access to talk to some of the speakers and stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be looking forward to seeing everybody who attends. It's gonna be a big party. A lot of people from the Libertarian Party of South Dakota will be there. So if you want to meet the Libertarian Party of South Dakota people, like all of us all together, one roof. Like this is like a big thing. So I would encourage coming. Get your volunteer for the free ticket. For volunteer with the Americans for Prosperity for the free ticket. If you want to check that out, it's at hedgehogwatchdog.com. There's a blog article about it. All the information's there that you need. And yeah, when is this? July 21st to the 24th. So coming up real quick here. And that's all I've got for tonight. We may or may not see you on Sunday. We'll decide in the week. But regardless, we're gonna have lots of content from Freedom Fest starting on Monday. That's weird. It's like, so it's a Monday through Wednesday thing?
No, it starts Tuesday. We're just going Monday.
Oh, okay. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's interesting. It's weird that it wouldn't be on a weekend, but whatever.
Or maybe
take the time off work.
Or maybe we're what?
Wait, let me look up my calendar. I'm busting it out right now. We don't want to confuse people. All right, it is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 21st to the 24th. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
All right, so we're going
like
on
a half weekend. Yeah, half weekend.
We're going on Tuesday, not Monday. So maybe we will do a show. I'll see if I can find last minute Freedom
Fest. If we don't, dude, I've got so much backlog stuff that we need to talk about. That's like South Dakota stuff that's been going on. So even if we don't have a guest, we'll make a show happen because, man, there's so much has been happening in South Dakota lately that, I know we have a guest like scheduled so far out in advance that it's hard to even talk about our own state very much. But maybe that's what we'll do for Sunday, unless we can get. I don't know. Do you have anybody lined up to come on? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I don't have anyone lined up, but I have a couple people I could ask that are coming to Freedom Fest. I mean, it's like a couple days before Freedom Fest, so I don't know. We'll see.
We could do that, or maybe we could do a call-in show. Maybe when we used to do that. I don't know though. We tried to do a call-in show with the UFO thing, and only like one person called in, and I had 4 people say they're going to call in. So I don't know if I trust it. Maybe once we're a bigger podcast, and once we have how about that? Once we have 1,000 likes on Facebook, finally, we'll start doing call-in shows again because then we know that people might actually call in. But those are always fun. You never know who's calling. Sometimes it's a troll. Even the trolls weren't even that bad. But some of the people that we called in were pretty interesting characters, and a lot of them weren't even from America. So you have like a German's input on what's going on in South Dakota, which is interesting, or an Irish person. But anyhow, check out pinkcoin.com. They're our sponsor. Any final words from you, Greg?
No. Check out hedgehogwatchdog.com for blog articles and.
Yeah, we're busting out a lot of blog articles lately. Yeah, so a lot of stuff to read up on. We'll see you next Sunday. See ya. Actually, you know what? Oh, Greg left already. I'm gonna play Dan Fishman's notice speech since he was a guest on the show. I thought it was pretty good. So we'll listen to that, and then I'll close the show out. I think this is where it starts.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, this video is unavailable? What? Is that real? It really got deleted? I don't know why I got deleted. All right. Well, I guess you can't listen to Dan Fishman's notice speech because the video is not there. Maybe if I click refresh, something will happen. We'll see here. I find it strange. Video. is private. What? I don't know what's going on there. That sucks, though. That sucks. I should have downloaded it while I had a chance. All right. Well, we'll see you next Sunday. Maybe we'll play it on Sunday or next week. It's pretty. But, oh, yeah. Peace out. Thanks for listening.